What's up, my Nimbugs? It's your boy Josh from the Astronauts, and today I'm going to give you an awesome profile with the big giraffe himself, Gigafflora. I'm sure you're probably wondering, how in the world did you go undefeated with the big giraffe? I'll tell you in just a second. But before I do, Daybreak pre-sales are on the horizon, and if you're interested in supporting us here at the Astronauts, make sure to use our creator code down in the description box below. It helps us out a lot, and it's free to use at checkout. Now, let's get into my list for Gigafflora burn. Starting with 2 copies of Gigafflora. In case you're unaware of what this card does, again, I don't blame you. I don't think that this card has had any competitive success whatsoever up until this point. You can expend an earth in order to target and special ascend your Gigafflora, this little giraffe right here, into the Gigafflora. So it's practically like a free special ascend into a 2-drop. You don't have to ascend into this normally. During your draw phase, you can special cast a 1 Spirit Earth Celestial from your Underworld. And there's a lot of really cool Celestials that we're trying to bring back from the Underworld every single turn to generate insane amounts of advantage. Now, one of the best ways that you can get Celestials into the Underworld is with Paleoth. If Paleoth is destroyed by battle or a card effect, so if they like Poison Tip or Earthquake this, you are able to search your deck for 2 Earth Celestials. This can also be the Gigafflora. It doesn't say a 1 Spirit Earth Celestial. Send one of them to your Underworld and add the other to your hand. Now, what we're trying to set up is multiple Pandicines off of this Paleoth. And I'll show you kind of the interaction that you're trying to pull off here. So let's say that a Paleoth gets destroyed. And this, again, Paleoth is not necessarily required for this. You're trying to get multiple Pandicines in rotation. So let's say a Paleoth gets destroyed. So now I have a Pandicine in my Underworld, and I have a Pandicine in my hand. Afterwards, I would then cast a Gigafflora, add back that Pandicine, so now I have 2 in my hand, and then ascend into my Gigafflora using the Gigafflora. If this sticks around, then you're able to special cast a Gigafflora from your Underworld and then ascend into the Pandicine over top of your Gigafflora, so that this now has 2 spirits under it. So when you disenchant to add back an invoke rune, it gets to stay on the field and do it again next turn. And then worst case scenario, you can just keep re-enchanting the Pandicine and doing it every single turn to generate insane amounts of advantage. I don't think I mentioned what Pandicine does, but you can disenchant an earth from this Pandicine to return an invoke rune from your Underworld to your hand. And the reason that this is crazy is because we're playing a bunch of really powerful invoke runes that we're going to get to a second, and the invoke runes are actually how we're going to be winning the game, not by combat. We are playing 1 copy of Rummagem. It's not because this card's bad by any means. Paleoth just actually ends up being better in a deck like this. To search out cards that you're not trying to dump to your Underworld. Cards like Moss Station. Moss Station in this deck is very strong, but not necessarily because you're attacking with it. A 6 attack wall is really difficult to deal with. I know we complain about Rabbit a lot, and it's 5 defense stat. 6 is way more difficult to get over if they don't have something like a Zeus. On the contrary, too, 6 is a very good attack stat line, too. So if you're trying to out things like Rabbits, Smoltugas, any other type of stall tool, Moss Station can also deal with those problems as well. Your Rummagem can also search out your Dratayas. We are playing a fruit package in this deck that we are able to abuse with Pandicines. I'll be honest, I have not respected Pandicine a whole lot in general. But I think, especially with fruit packages, Pandicine might be a must for recycling your Ambrosias whenever you don't have one, or say you've cycled through all 6 of them, getting back a late game Cornucopia, healing for 5 and drawing for 3 is devastating. Typical fruit stuff, we are playing the 3 Ambrosia and the 3 Cornucopia, and more draw cards, we're also playing the Nectar of the Gods. This card's basically free with the Ambrosias and the Cornucopias in the late game, and it helps us dig closer to our win condition, which we're going to talk about in just a second. We are playing 2 copies of Earthquake. The reason I'm not playing 3 is because this card is recyclable off of our Pandicine. So you can just Earthquake every single turn if they don't deal with the Pandicine. And if you're also recycling back your Ambrosias, you should have enough spirits to do so all the time. But for the real win condition of this deck, we're playing triple eruption. Now, the idea, and maybe you've kind of seen it with the Pandicine, is that this is what you're trying to add back every single turn off of Pandicine. So we're eruptioning not just once, we're not eruptioning twice, we're not eruptioning 3, 4, 5 times. We're erupting for infinite, looping back our ambrosias and our eruptions every single turn to be able to burn for game. Now, I'm very, very thankful that in this tournament I didn't go up against any fire or had any lavaliths stick to the board, because I do not know what I would have done. I think at that point I would have had to loop Earthquakes and swing in with 1-attack Pandicines, which is not a very good game plan. But I'm very happy that just the Eruption game plan ended up working out. Moving on to our counter rune suite, we are playing 3 copies of Poison Tip, 3 copies of Shield, and 3 copies of The Gaze. No copies of Tsunami whatsoever. The whole reason that we're not doing that is because Tsunami doesn't fit into a deck like this nearly as well as a card as it does in like Mill, where you're just trying to make sure that your Humbust and your Jotaya stay on the field for as long as possible. We don't really have an issue with making sure that guys stick, or all of our guys have much more longevity than a 2 defense Humbust does. On top of that, I also see Poison Tip and Shield as pseudo burn cards in this deck, because if I shield them, they're going to have to recast that card. It sets them back in tempo and advantage. And then Tip also removes threats on the board entirely. Most of our cards are 4 defense or higher in this deck as well. So for them to beat over a 4 defense, they need something with at least 7 attack, which most decks aren't going to be able to do unless it's specifically Thunder Nexus. Gorgons is an auto include just because it stops really unfair cards like Spark It, and the like. There's a bunch of other cards that you really need to stop with Gorgons, or other just big attackers in general that weren't going to be stopped by the Shield or the Poison Tip. Not the greatest counter rune in a deck like this, but it is still mandatory. And finishing things up with the Spirit Math, we are playing 12 Terratlas. Where's the rest of my Terratlas? There's the rest of my Terratlas. We're playing 12 Terratlas and 8 Vapyros. I think I could have gotten away with 6 Vapyros instead and played 14 Terratlas, being that I was only playing 3 Eruption. I was thinking that, like, oh, I want to play 8 Vapyros in case I loop multiple Eruptions over the course of the game, which again is the win condition. But it turns out in practice that you are looping Ambrosia so much over the course of the game that those extra 2 Fire Spirits were not needed. There were multiple times, though, that I did need the extra Earth Spirits to cast Cornucopias instead, and I would have much rather add back a Cornucopia than a regular Ambrosia, but I didn't have the Earth Spirits left to do so, and changing these out for Terratlases would have let me do that. So that's the only change I would make to the Spirit deck. Main deck seemed perfect. I'll be honest, I'm filming this the day after the tournament. I can't exactly remember all of my matchups. I do remember playing against a Barabog burn deck, which didn't do a whole lot against me since I'm playing Earth. And then I also went up against Thunder Nexus in the last round and was able to take it. That was a super stressful game that I do not think I should have won. We were able to climb back from like 2 spirits thanks to some really thankful top deck Cornucopias. So again, is this deck very good? No. I think I just happened to get lucky, but I think it's cool that there is a deck like this that's able to take advantage of looping Invoke runes to some extent. Just in general, I mean, I'm a big fan of the big giraffe. I'm a big fan of big giraffe. So if you would like to see other fun casual decks or interesting strategy ideas that you would like me and the other Illustronauts to take to these casual events, please let us know in the comment section below. I'm always looking for new ideas. I'm not going to be taking a single meta deck to any of these casual locals. I always want to play something super fun that I wouldn't be able to play in a big tournament setting. I think I've gone 3-1 with Shiver-Roar, I've gone 3-1 with Bears, and now I've gone undefeated with Gigafflora. So if you have any cool, fun, trashy boss monsters that you'd like to see shown off in a tournament setting, let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. Again, make sure to use our code for Daybreak pre-orders, which are going up very soon, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.